Hey there, Chef Dee Malfi here, and I'm very excited to be back in the studio here at Amazon Live because I have a very special demo in store for you today. I thought, what am I going to make today? What do I need? Well, I need some fresh baked bread, something that I think more and more of us are doing nowadays during sheltering in place. But I'm going to show you how to make fresh baked bread super fast and super simple. You won't even believe how easy it is to do. This is a recipe that really kind of requires putting very few ingredients that you probably have already on hand into a stand mixer and mixing it and then popping it into the oven. The entire process takes less than 30 minutes from start to finish. So if you have questions along the way about bread baking, about plant-based eating and living, please let a sister know. I'm here to engage with you, and I can see who's here on the stream. I'm using my phone to see who's engaging with me and asking any questions, but I'm going to be focusing my attention here on the cam. So let's get started. All right, so let's make some bread and let's make it really, really simple. First things first, this recipe is the second time that I'm doing it today because the first demo that I just did, it fell flat. I did the entire thing and the camera wasn't even actually on my face. That's because Amazon makes it just a tad bit difficult. And so I'm gonna make it simple. I'm actually using an external camera right now. And this recipe comes from my Plant-Based Made Easy month cookbook. This is issue number 6. I'm very proud and excited that this is out and available for you to download. And within this recipe, it is really just a month full of recipes for you and your family. It's family-friendly, kid-approved food. It's really, really yummy. All these recipes are wholesome, they're balanced, they're really easy, and they're super fun to make either by yourself or with people to help you. And included in this cookbook are 4 staple recipes that I include from month to month. And these staple recipes are things that we normally buy in market, but we can actually save a lot of money and even some time by actually preparing them in the home because you can always have fresh product available. And these staple recipes include fresh baked bread, yogurt, milk, and cheese, all of which, again, are the 4 staple recipes in every monthly cookbook that I put out, and they're really easy. So let's make some fresh baked bread today, and I'm just going to continue to look at my phone in case there are any questions. So simple. First things first, today I'm featuring an amazing product. This is the KitchenAid stand mixer. And this is the classic KitchenAid stand mixer, which I absolutely love. It's 4.5 quarts. I actually, 4.5 quart bowl. I love the white. It's beautiful. You can get it in any color. They come in lots of different colors, but the classic white is really, really, I think, pretty, and it kind of matches any backsplash or any kitchen or any studio for that matter. And I'm going to really kind of just start by putting some things into the bowl after I measure them. So first thing that we need to measure is our yeast. Let's talk about yeast for a second. Yeast is really important for bread making. You can't have bread without yeast. Well, you can have something that's like a bread-like substance, but it's not actually going to be actual bread. All right. So first things first, we want some yeast. I'm going to use Red Star yeast. This is a 2-pound bag. I love to have a 2-pound bag in my freezer at all times. It lasts me for a couple of years because I'm only going to use a little bit each time I bake bread, 7 grams to be exact. Now, how are we going to get 7 grams? Well, I'm going to recommend the Taylor food scale for this. This is fantastic. And if you want to check out any of these products that I'm featuring, they're right below under this video. So you can actually click them and purchase them, and they will be delivered right to your front door. Thank you, Amazon. You make it so easy. So in order to do that, we are going to actually make sure to scale out 7 grams of yeast, which I have right here. And this is what yeast looks like if you are unfamiliar. It is really important to have active yeast. So if you have a bag that's been in your freezer, in your cupboard for like 5-10 years, it's probably dead. So you want to actually check to make sure it's active by, you can either test it out on a recipe and take the chance, or you can actually add a little warm water to it. And if it doesn't bubble, it is probably dead. All right. So I'm going to use 7 grams. I'm going to pop it into my bowl of my food, of my stand mixer here. And to this, I'm going to add yeast food. This is really important. I'm adding 2 tablespoons of coconut palm sugar, but you can use any sugar that you want, granulated sugar. I just recommend that you use organic if you can. I have an awesome coconut palm sugar right here in the product ingredient list that you can purchase if you're interested, and that goes right in. Now, we want to activate this yeast with warm water. It's really important to use some warm water for this. So I'm using about 150 milliliters to 200 milliliters of water, just kind of depending. But I'm going to start with 150 milliliters, and I'm just going to pour it over the sugar and the yeast. And I want it to start to bubble up, and it's warm enough. It's just perfectly warm. And I can tell that it is nice and well mixed, and it's active when it bubbles. And then the other sort of quality that I'm looking for is that this smells like yeast. It actually should smell kind of like, bread is on the way. All right, so that is in. Now, the next thing that I want is some sort of fat. All right, this is optional, but I'm going to use a little bit of avocado oil, about 3 tablespoons. You can use extra virgin olive oil. If you want, extra virgin olive oil is going to give you a very fruity forward, very olive oil tasting loaf of bread, and that's fantastic. But if you want something a little bit more neutral, I highly recommend the Chosen Foods avocado oil. Again, this is linked at the bottom as well. So I'm going to add 3 tablespoons of the oil right into my bowl. So you can see I'm really adding everything right to the bowl. That's how easy this is. All right, the next thing that I want is a little bit of salt. I'm using sea salt today, and I'm going to use 1/2 teaspoon. So a 1/2 teaspoon of sea salt. This is kind of really nice and fluffy and fine and really, really delicious. You can't have bread without a little salt. If you happen to be the whole food plant-based, meaning you don't do salt, you don't do sugar, and you don't do oil, so meaning you don't eat any of the SOSs, good on you. And if you have to choose and pick to make a bread, I think the one really important sort of requirement for making bread is sugar. The yeast absolutely needs a little food in order to activate, so you definitely need the sugar. I recommend if you had to remove the other 2, that's okay. You could use any salt substitute you want, any of that granulated algae, dried algae, really great salt substitutes out there on the market. So 1/2 teaspoon of your favorite salt or salt substitute, that goes right in. And then, of course, we need a little bit of flour. So today I'm going to use King Arthur Organic whole wheat flour. This is really, really good for us because it is considered a whole grain. You can see that the color itself is actually kind of brownish. It has speckles of brown and white. This stuff is really good. It's good for us. It's good for our gut microbiome. It does contain gluten because any wheat flour that is coming from wheat will contain gluten. That is the proteins. That is the protein from the wheat itself. And this is not going to be gluten-free, but it is going to be delicious. But I highly recommend whole wheat flour over all-purpose flour. Although this recipe, you can make it your own. So if you wanted to do a little all-purpose flour and a little whole wheat flour, you absolutely can. So that's 2 cups or 200 grams is going to go right into my bowl. And that's it, all right? Now, the next thing we need is our attachment. For this, the machine actually comes with 3 attachments. It's either the paddle, the whisk or the whip, or the bread hook, all right? The dough hook is what I'm gonna use today, and I'm gonna just place it on. I'm gonna lock it in place, and I'm gonna show you, this is the lock right here on the side. It's already locked in place, and I'm gonna turn it on. And I like to turn it on to like 1 to 2 just to make sure it's going. No, my bread is not gluten-free. Do not make me laugh, please. Thank you very much. Okay, I know that person. That's a friend. Yeah, you want to just make sure that the dough itself and the stand mixture and the mixer is on a 2 so that the dough and all the flour doesn't come like, flying all over onto your kitchen walls. And really important that you actually lock it in place. If you don't lock it, and the moment that the dough hook actually starts to integrate all the flour and the sugar and the oil and everything, it's going to start to kind of shake a little bit, okay? So that lock is actually a really important function of this KitchenAid so that it doesn't shake off of your table. And I actually am baking a little bit of this bread right now because I wanted to show you the complete loaf. Plus, this is the take 2 of today's demo because the first one, the camera wasn't at my face. So that happens. Okay, I'm gonna turn off the machine and I'm gonna use my spatula here and I'm just gonna rub the sides of the bowl to make sure I'm gonna capture all of the flour and all the dough. I really want to make sure that the dough is actually mixing really consistently. I don't want any like spot of the dough to be really sticky on one side and really dry on the other. It has to all be really kind of unified. And you'll see right away, is it coming together? If it's not, perhaps it needs a little bit more water. So if you have a little bit extra water, I have like 2 teaspoons here left, make sure it's warm before you add it and you can go ahead and add it as needed. So here's a question about gluten-free. You actually can't make this specific recipe with the quantities that I'm showcasing right here with a gluten-free flour mix. It will not work. You really do need gluten for these quantities of yeast, sugar, and oil. But if you wanted a great gluten-free recipe, there are plenty out there. I use Pinterest as a great resource for recipes, especially for recipes with food substitutions and things like that, gluten-free, all of the important ways that people eat these days: oil-free, salt-free, sugar-free, all of that. But I think that this is going to work really well with the amount of water that we have and the full gluten, all whole wheat flour that we are using. I love the King Arthur flours because they are non-GMO and they're really, really, really wholesome. They're really good for us. You're going to spend a little bit more money on their flour, but the quality is going to be there for sure. So this bread dough is looking awesome. I can tell that it is nice and well mixed. Everything is mixing up quite nicely. I'm going to stop it one more time, and then I'm going to use my spatula to just make sure. Is it all coming together? Yep, it is. Okay, I can tell that this is nice and mixed. I might just like make sure to grab it. I want to touch for temperature and I want to touch for consistency. I'll talk about that in a second. Let me just let it go for one more second. Perfect. Okay, now you want to actually preheat your oven 400 degrees. This is, like I said, a quick bake bread. It takes 30 minutes from start to finish, from dough to baked. It's really simple, but you need a hot oven for that. So you can see today I'm using my Kusari countertop oven. This is a toaster oven. It's really, really good, but you can use your home oven. Just make sure to have it really hot at 400 degrees before you attempt to add your dough. You want it to be ready to go when you add your dough. All right, this looks fantastic. Now let's talk about consistency. This is super important when we're making bread. So here's the dough. Might not look like much right now, but the key to know if your dough is well mixed is we want to make sure it looks supple. Now, supple is the key for a good bread dough. That is kind of shiny, it's soft, it's really nice and supple. You can see it has that kind of supple look to it. Yeah, though there might be cracks and things like that, that's okay because this doesn't actually rise. The whole rising process is going to actually occur in the oven. I've just simplified this recipe so you can skip the rise altogether, and it totally works. But it is supple, and I can tell because my fingers can like touch it. It's very soft, it's warm, and it's delicious. All right, so now let's get my baking tray. I'm going to use a cookie sheet or a baking tray today, whatever you call it. And I'm going to use one that's small for my Kusari toaster oven, but I'm also going to line it. All right, so I'm using these baking liners. I'm using 2 because I had to cut it my own size. And I want to make sure that this is lined because if I try to bake this bread on an unlined tray, you're going to get a lot of burn bits on it. And it's actually going to probably burn the bottom of your bread, so you don't want that. All right, so this dough is ready. Now this is perfect. Like I said, you can use this for lots of different things. I think I'm gonna braid this. I'm gonna do a 3-strand braid. So just grab it in 3 pieces. And I'm gonna roll out these 3 pieces into strands or ropes. I'm gonna make sure I don't have any questions here. I don't see any questions. I'm returning to the live stream. Nope, no questions yet. All right, cool. We're almost done. And I'm just going to like really kind of roll these out into these long strands. Here's one. They don't have to be perfect. They just need to be rolled out. They need to be the same consistency, the same thickness, and the same length. That's really important. When I say consistency, I mean you don't want one little like edge to be like thin and then the middle to be thick, right? You want the whole thing to be nice and consistent, the same shape, the same thickness, the same length. Really important for making a beautiful braid. There we go. That looks perfect. And then the last one. You can also do a 5-strand braid if you want, but it takes a little bit more effort, and we're making this simple. But the cool thing about this bread, this dough specifically, can be used for pizza dough. It can be used for making sandwich bread, French bread. It can be used to make rolls. It's really, really versatile. So that's why I love it. All right, so now we have our 3 strands here. This looks really, really great. I just told you to get it the same size. So we're going to make sure that all of these are the same size, which they are. Perfect. Okay, lay them down, and I'm going to braid it, and then I will show you. I wish I could actually show you how to braid it. Let's see, can I do it? Let's see if I can do it standing up. All right, so let's do it. I think I can. We'll do it this way. All right, so you want to actually start with the left side or the right side and go to the middle. And then the right side goes to the middle. And then the left side. Ooh, this is hard. I can't do it. Can I do it? Oh my gosh, that'd be so freaking cool if I could. Almost, like so close. I almost did it. I'll finish it up right here. Ta-da! We've got a braided dough here. This looks perfect. And this makes a really kind of small little loaf, this 3-strand braid, but it will make 6 wonderful buns if you want, or hamburger buns. Make 2 pizza crusts. Makes a really nice loaf of sliced bread. Now the last thing, I want a little plant-based milk and a little brush here, and I want to brush it and do a little milk wash. Really important. This is going to keep the dough, the bread baked and nice and shiny when it bakes. It's really yummy when you have a little bit of that milk wash. And then any of your favorite seeds. I absolutely love using seeds for this. You can use poppy seed, you can use onion seeds, you can use sesame seeds. I'm going to use the Everything Bagel seasoning because it's so yummy. Throw that right on. This has a little bit of everything, including sea salt, which is perfect. And now my bread is ready for the oven. Let me give you a good quick look. Looks beautiful. Small, cute. All right, this is going to go right into the oven. I'm going to grab this. This bread looks complete. And this is going to bake for like 12 minutes or so. Meanwhile, this one is baked and perfect. Look at this. This looks really, really great. And it smells so delicious in here. I want to show you. It's soft. It's gorgeous, golden brown. It's going to be perfect. I'm actually going to feature a couple slices of this bread tomorrow on Plant-Based Made Easy. That is my plant-based cooking show on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. It is streamed live every weekday all over the interwebs. You can find it tomorrow. I'll be back in the studio. And tomorrow I'm making a vegan, plant-based, delicious bean toast. It's a snack recipe that is protein-rich and totally delicious. I'm going to use 2 slices, thick slices of this homemade fresh baked bread for that recipe. So I really hope that you'll join me in the kitchen for that. And if you have any additional questions along the way, please get a hold of me. Please follow me on Instagram at Chef D Malfi. You can send me a DM there, or you can send me a DM on Facebook or on YouTube. And I really hope to see you in the kitchen soon. Until then, have a wonderful rest of your day. Peace.